So, for people who don't know, just introduce yourself and what you do.
Yes, so I'm Camille Leblanc-Bazinet, and I used to be the fittest woman on earth. I have a degree in chemical engineering. Now, most recently, I am the owner of Feroz Fitness, and I'm a mom. So, yep.
Whereabouts did you grow up?
So I grew up in a town called Richelieu, but I really grew up in the town that was called Notre Dame de Bon Secours, but the town was so small that they merged us into Richelieu. So up until 12, I was in Notre Dame de Bon Secours, and after that, I was in Richelieu. So tiny, beanie town around farms in Canada.
And what was that like growing up?
Um, it was awesome because I have a wonderful family. So I have two sisters and a brother. I have a twin sister, fun fact. Um, and just wonderful parents. And I spent my whole childhood, there was like a bunch of rules in the house where you weren't allowed in the house. So my whole childhood was trying to create games outside, and I had a lot of stitches from from a thing like my brother having a great idea to put this skateboard and attach it to the back of his bicycle and give me ride to creating her own ramp and try to rollerblade up and down. So yeah, I think that's the beauty of a small town. That part was really really fun, and yeah, and the other side is I think I've always been very inclined to want to travel the world because I guess the same aspect. I was in a small town, so I've always been very curious about everything else out there.
Okay, so I mean that can go both ways as well. I think some people from small towns sometimes get locked into that sort of small town thinking. So it's like you sort of broke out of that. That's really cool. Um, Early days, what sort of sports was you into? You was involved in sports early on?
Yeah, so I have an older sister, and she's 4 years older than me, and she used to do gymnastics. So when she was 6 and I was about 2, I guess I was always very driven, and I would try to copy what she was doing. So she would do like, handstand and things like that. And I was much younger and I would try to do everything she was doing. But it was very dangerous for me. So I started doing gymnastic when I was 2.5 years old because my mom was just thinking, well, at least she'll have mats and, coaches there. So gymnastic was really my first love. And I did gymnastic for a very, very long time. Um, and I think like something that my parents did for me, my brother, and my sister that was pretty unbelievable is that they would literally only work to be able to pay for us to do sport. So my dad had two jobs, one during the day, one at night. My mom was a full-time work too, and with 4 kids, so definitely a lot. And we all played elite sport. So without them ever making us feel like we had to perform. The only rule was if you don't have fun anymore, you have to stop. So every time I would go to gymnastic, and you get bummed sometimes, obviously, because it's hard. So you fail and then you succeed, and you fail and you fail and you fail and you fail, and then you succeed a little and then fail more. And yeah, every time she would pick me up from gymnastic, it would just always be the same question: how was it? How did it go? Did you say thank you to your coach? And are you still enjoying it? Every time. And
Wow.
then
Yeah. So what's the importance of that? Having fun with it and enjoying it.
I just the I think it's just the only way to go about it. If you're gonna invest so much in something, like either find a way to enjoy it, because let's be honest, we have to do a lot of things that we don't necessarily enjoy, but find a way to enjoy it, or like there's no point in just showing up to show up. Like if, especially like in something like this, I think it's different when you're building your business or other parts of, or when you become a professional athlete. Because for my parents, it was so much money for us to be able to do this, that if we're not going to enjoy this, well, let's try to find another passion that you will enjoy. So that was something that I think was very powerful. I think that was, I don't think my parents did it on purpose to teach me those lessons, but for me, that lesson was the day that I wasn't enjoying gymnastic, I really went on a hunt to find my next passion. And it was like, I am going to do something I'm passionate about, something that, light a fire under me. And those are like my value. And that's kind of what I've always ruled my life with. I'm not someone who's like focused on trying to have like, tons of money or a nice house. Like as long as all my family is happy and I'm following my passion, I'm pretty okay with that.
So in those early days, what was your mentality like?
Like, what age are we talking about?
In the early, so when you was doing gymnastics and you was quite young at the time, did you always have sort of a competitive nature?
Yes, and something that I think is interesting, because now I'm old enough to be able to look back and like understand a lot of stuff. Um, I've always been competitive, but because I'm from such a small town, and I played every sport from my school, our average of talent was not as high as other bigger towns. The heart was there, but the average, because I did a lot of team sport, and I think I had to learn really fast when I was young to um, uh, quantify my success with my effort and not if we win or lose, because we always lost. So it had to become for me, I had to start to find a lot of joy and fulfillment in giving the other team a really, really hard time. And if you give me an inch, I'll take it. And I think like for some people that would be devastating, but it taught me like unbelievable lesson that goes from, I think, not being like result oriented, but really being like process oriented. And that like has translated in my life in some major, major ways, where like just trusting the process, trusting that every time you keep showing up, you do get better. And it's like this mentality of little by little becomes a lot, was just like what really helped me like get propelled further. And also I think being so much more okay with failing, because failing is lessons and that's it. So yeah, so that it was like that to be from a small town and play sports. And I've always been obsessed with growth. So every time I always love challenging myself. So the idea of being a beginner for me, part of it really excites me, because it's like you have so much to grow from when you're a beginner in something. And I remember me and my twin sister, we signed up to play rugby at a point, because why not? We're like, back then we were like two little twigs that were 120 pounds. We got smashed. And I just remember I would harass her every day. I was like, let's go play outside. We got to practice. We got to practice. And I just would get obsessed. Like I just love the idea of like this challenge and learning a new skill. And yeah, I think, there's always good and bad in everything. But being from a small town, I had to learn to really just be satisfied with my effort and not necessarily the result, because it, you know, let's be honest, life is not fair. So you can like work your ass off like crazy, and you're like, it's gonna happen, and then it doesn't. And it's okay, because if you focus on the effort you put in, you can look back at whatever didn't happen and you won't have regret. You'll just be like, you know what? I try my best, and I'm proud of myself, and let's go back to the drawing board. And this is just a step, and that's it, and not the end of the world.
How did you go from gymnastics, rugby, and then how did you get into CrossFit?
Yeah. So, like I said, I love learning and I love new skills. So I did like pretty much every sport you can think of, um, with the exception of basketball for obvious reason. I am a big 5 feet two, and I learned how to swim when I was young, but didn't really do any competitive swimming. But I mean, I did pole vaulting, I did gymnastics, uh, European football, and I also did American flag football, uh, skiing, uh, rugby. I mean, I'm forgetting some track and field. I just did it all because I just love doing it all. So when I stopped gymnastics, I was, I went from doing something that I was doing between like 20 to 40 hours a week to now only all the other extra stuff I was doing, because that was part of every sport when I was in gymnastics too. Um, I just, like I said, that was my passion back then. And one day I woke up and I was done with gymnastics. I started to get injured a lot, and I started to fear a lot, because I mean, you really need to like just put that fear way down when you're about to do a double backflip, and you hit your head and feet and things like that a couple of times. It's like this point that I think as I got older, that I was like, I think I'm good. Like I was just, um, and I wanted to go to the Olympic when I was young, and I realized that that wasn't gonna happen. So I think I just was over it, which is totally fine. It's good that I recognize it. So then I just, yeah, try any new sport, because I had my quest of finding my new passion. So my rule was I'm gonna try everything, and hopefully I'll find something that lights a fire in me, and we'll go from there. So when I played rugby, the girls and guy, in my city, we would practice together. I mean, we wouldn't tackle each other, but we would practice at the same time. And at the end of our practice, some of the guys were always like, okay, we're doing our conditioning, and we're gonna run down there. We're gonna do X amount of push-up. We're gonna come back. We're gonna squat, and we're gonna do that 5 times, as fast as you can. And it was just very exciting to me, because I was like, oh my God, we're doing we're doing fitness, but we're like competing, and it was just really, really exciting. And it was like this new game, and I've always loved fitness. So we would run, and I would be pushing the boys, and they would be pushing me, because we were like, really like fighting to win. There was, I mean, no winning, because we were just on the field with a bunch of people, but I, it was just really fun, and I didn't knew what that was. I was like, what a creative way to work out. This is great. And then at a point they just challenged me to come try CrossFit, and that's how I found just that different way of training, which was just, bringing some high intensity. But for me, it was really feeling that competitive, like little thing I had inside me that was exciting, because I think it's almost, I feel like it's because at that point I think I was 20 when I found CrossFit. Um, but it was just, it seems like for most sport, like if you've been elite and you're kind of done, you're just done forever in your life. And I think like this happened for a lot of people that do sport. There's like almost this point that like the world seems to be telling you you cannot be elite anymore. Like it's enough of being an athlete. Like now you have to be responsible. And it was just nice to find something that you can feel like an athlete forever, and that you can keep coming and competing, and give like kind of myself a second chance because it didn't work out in my previous sport. So that was exciting.
Well, it worked out well for you.
Yeah, not too bad.
What was the first experience in the gym like?
Yes. So I just remember another story that's really funny, but I'll tell that one. I started with my twin sister. That was like our thing, I guess. And I'll tell the first one, but the second one is so funny. Well, I think it's really funny. So the first time we showed up, and I mean, it's very intimidating because let's be honest, people take themselves sometimes very seriously in CrossFit. It's like you have like the full range of people, right? From I'm just here because training with people forced me to train, to the I'm the best in the gym. So we showed up and all excited. And I remember the members were trying to be nice and explain to us that, do not start too fast, and that it's like really hard and we should like pace. And I just remember being like, ha, I'm gonna do me. So 3, 2, 1, go. We started, and the workout was 5 rounds of 400-meter run into 25 burpees. And I just started so fast. I remember like, that metal taste in your mouth in like the first round, and I had 4 to go. And I was like, oh, I should have listened. But remember, I'm 20 years old. So you don't listen when you're 20. I'm so stubborn, so I kept the same pace through the whole time. And I finished the workout, faked that I was all good. I was like, oh yeah, that's fun. And then that day I signed up for a whole year, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like I'm enjoying doing this. And back then I had no idea there was like competition that you could do, and that happened later. But I was like, all right, like this is very exciting. And I'd be so ecstatic to come back. And so ecstatic that the second time me and my sister went to train at that gym, which by the way, we didn't knew anyone really except those like 4 persons that trained with us that day. Because remember, that's like in 2009. So there was like, very minimal amount of people that were doing this, especially in Canada. And so the second time we went to train, me and my twin thought it would be really funny to dress up. So we spent the whole day making those like flash dance costume with like side ponytail and high socks, and we thought we were so funny. And before going in the gym to do that, second day of training, we're like sitting in the car, we're like, oh my God, what are we doing? But we still think we're so funny. And now we're like all embarrassed, and we're like, whatever. We think we're funny. That's all that matters. And we made up this whole thing in our head that like there was going to be a lot of people in the gym and everything. And then we walked in, and it was only the 2 of us training, which I thought was so funny. So we showed up in costume for ourselves, and there was no one there. Yeah, but I love having fun. So that was a good place to do that.
That's good. So the intimidation, the fun factor sort of defeated the intimidation for you. What is your advice to, we spoke about it before, but like women trying to get into CrossFit and intimidated by the gym? And like we say, it has had kind of a bad rep in the past, and I think some women are kind of intimidated by it. What's your advice for them people?
Yeah, I think it definitely, I mean, I think it had got a bad rep in the past because like a lot of things has happened in the past, and like you need to look at it in a manner that like what can we learn from this? Like there's a lot of, you know, the one of the issue is that anyone can open a facility and anyone can be a coach. So the standard of knowing where's a good experience place and where it's not, it's definitely hard to figure that out, especially as you know, in the industry of health and fitness. There's so much information, and there is so much information that is derived from people just wanting to make money by like taking just a little glimpse of a research and saying, yes, if you eat chocolate and wine, you will be great. And we all know that example is not true. But let me tell you, even me, if you tell me chocolate is good for me, I will believe you for that 1 second. And I think it's a little bit the same thing with a lot of gyms. It's hard to find that really high quality. And that specific issue is something that I had in mind when I created Feroz, which is my business, because I wanted to find something and an alternative for people to be able to get the knowledge and have good training in a way that they could do it at home alone if they wanted to, and have their coach online, which is me, obviously, or go to the gym and do it there. But in all those scenarios, there's no scenario where like you really have to just like be dumped in the fire if you're not ready. So that's kind of what my whole Furrows is about. Is we do all the training is online, but everything is explained with videos, and it's very hands-on. And we have a Facebook group, and we talk, and I give people feedback, and there's just real coaching happening, but also in the safety and security of your home, where like if you want to look however you want and train in your pajamas, we're all good with it. Because I found it even for myself, which is, funny because I've been a professional athlete in that sport for so long. But even for myself, like as I got better and better, I found myself like going to the CrossFit gym and jumping in class. And I just wanted to do the class like everyone else. And they would always be this like one or two person that would be trying to bait me like hey, I'm gonna get you, hey, like I got my eyes on you. And for me, I was like, look, I'm trying to get pregnant. I really just want to work out and be chill and have fun and be healthy. And that, I think, like there's this competitive side that comes with CrossFit that is great if you want to be a professional athlete. But I realized that for me, wanting to become a mom, it like sometimes it would rub me the wrong way, because I don't want to lift the heavy weight anymore, because I don't want my knee to hurt or my back to hurt. And it's not always about lifting as heavy as you can, but becoming better. And sometimes it looks a little bit differently, because you don't want to be always banged up because you're trying to beat someone on the board or beat a score. Um, so that's kind of what I wanted to get away from by creating my own business. And someone who is as competitive as me, I just had to be completely removed from that side, because otherwise I would keep trying to lift heavier and heavier. And like my knee are starting to hurt. I already had a shoulder surgery. I need another one on my other. And my goal is to be fit for life, so I can go ski with my daughter and go swim with her when she's older. And try to kick her little tiny cute butt when I can, to just teach her some good lesson that mama's still tough. But yeah, so my advice for them would like be like, come start with me. Come start with me, or start in an environment that has a much lower barrier of entry, if it's something that's very intimidating, and find the right people and the right coach. So it's okay to shop around. It's not because you walk somewhere that you have to be bound to them. The goal is to find a positive environment that inspire you to be better and help you be your best. So if you don't feel like that somewhere, like you're shopping.
So going off the back of that, how important is physical fitness to improve mental and emotional fitness, health outside of the fitness? How important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially right now with you know, COVID, it's definitely a subject that I'm so happy that it's more and more and more out there. I think, like for me, movement is medicine. That's really how I see it. It's always been like that. um, your body just produce so many chemical in your brain that makes you happy, like little shot of endorphin left and right. It helps literally regulate your whole body. It's just that, and eating well is a recipe for success, and which is something that I've had to apply really fast after my little baby girl was born, because um, uh, I mean, a lot of people that follow me know this, but my baby was born at 30 weeks. So she was 10 weeks early. And I had, sorry, an emergency C-section. Um, and as soon as that happened, I started to be followed very closely with the people at the hospital. And at first, I just thought that's how everyone was. And then I realized that they don't follow people as tight as they were doing with me. And the reason behind this is because of how Zoe was born. I was like this prime candidate for postpartum depression, um, which happened, and it's still happening right now. So sometimes it's hard, but because I have I understand how like some of the chemicals in the brain work. I understood that in relation to fight that, I had to have like a lot of discipline, which is really hard when all you want to do is sleep in bed. So I would really have to force myself, like take a shower in the morning. I know it sounds so normal for people, but when you're in like a really, it's like this great cloud always over your head, and you just feel pinned down in your bed. And but I made a list of all the things that I know are really good for like mental health that go with taking action. Um, so instead of focusing on like, oh, like I'm, you know, I'm like listening to thoughts in my head that I don't like, I would instead try to talk to myself. A little something I learned with my mental coach is your brain can only say X amount of word a minute. So you can either listen to what it's saying, or you can talk to yourself. And then at least you can kind of take a little bit of control over the dialogue that's happening. So I would try to like write down, things that I wanted to tell myself, and I would just like read it and just read it to try to push a lot of the other things away. Take a shower in the morning, I would go for a walk, even if it's just 20 minutes, and I would try to really focus on eating like good quality food. So I would put the timer on my phone to make sure I was eating regularly, and also try to eat just like real food. And then I would journal every night. And it takes a lot of discipline to do that. But that really, I think, like helped me um, not go somewhere that could have been really bad, because I someday I would have a glimpse of where that could be. So I do think like moving and be able to like have this endorphin kick in, you just feel so much better after. And I think it's a game changer to try to stay on and healthy and happy, or as above water as you can.
So 5 months Zoe is now, is that right? 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So you say you're still on the journey at the moment, and you spent a lot of time. Is it in ICU? Is that right?
Uh,
Is it, the is it called ICU that you were staying on the ward
oh,
for
it's
quite a few?
on NICU. So it's a
Okay.
neonatal something something not fun.
And, So what sort of perspective has that given you going through those tough times? Because I think like for me watching, obviously that must have been some of the hardest times of your life going through that. And obviously still on that journey now, like what's that sort of been like?
I think like right now we're still, I mean, just trying to survive the newborn phase. So I feel like I will have a lot more perspective down the line, looking back. But I think something that helped me a lot through this new or tough time, because I've had tough time in the past, like everyone else, we all go through rough time. I think being a teenager sucks for everyone. It's just rough for everyone in different ways. But I think like some things that I go back a lot in tough time that help me a ton in my life is pulling back on past experience. So pulling back on really hard things that you've done, or really, hard emotional or physical, or say a time. Look at that time and see, first of all, see that you were able to go through it, and then try to find those lessons that you learned from there. And for me, I remember like high school was rough for me on the bullying side, and I went through it. I'm back on the other side, but I remember back then something that would tell me is like, it was this notion that like it's gonna end, like it's gonna be over at a point. It's just time passing by. Like, what can I do, to keep my mind off of this? What can I do? Always a what can I do, and what should I stop doing, and what should I keep doing? So I know I can get through this. I can do hard. What have I learned from my past experience? What can I do right now? What should I do? What should I stop doing? And what should I keep doing? And kind of this like those question and those like perspective aspect has been like very helpful for me in the NICU to be focusing on the right thing and not letting the things that can control me. So instead of like focusing on, the fact that I can't hold my baby, the fact that, I remember it would break my heart because I felt like, because Zoe was in a little isolate, and it would break my heart that she was alone. And I'm like, a baby like needs to be held, they need to feel my love, and I couldn't do that for her. And it would have been very easy to focus on that, and that was very present in my mind, and it was really hard. But then it was like, okay, so I can't control that, because her being in this isolate is what is saving her life. So what can I control? Okay, they said that me producing milk was super important. So you know what? Camille's full-time job, I will be pumping like a crazy person, and I will do everything they tell me I should do. I like clean up my food, drink a ton of water, woke up every 3 or 2 hours at night. And that was what I could control. And I just felt like doing something. Like, I think often people, when they're in overwhelming situation, including me, because I find myself sometimes being paralyzed, but a situation doesn't move unless you take action. So trying to find solution and trying to make action to move forward, it's very liberating towards like this uh, overwhelming situation. So when you feel paralyzed, try to think about something you can do to move forward or find a solution, because whatever is correct, I can't say that word, whatever is making you feel like you can't move, taking action is what's going to free you from it. So that's kind of what I was trying to do a lot at the NICU. But I mean, it sounds easy when I'm saying it like this, but it was so hard. It was really, really hard we used to call our daughter her beep beep terrorist, because the babies hooked up on they follow our oxygen, they follow our breathing rhythm, they follow our cardiac rhythm. And every time one of those drop, the whole room start to beep because Zoe is dying. Like, and that is non-stop. So you're trying to sleep at night and it start to beep and you're just waking up in I mean, I haven't slept in 5 months. That's the bottom line. And definitely have some PTSD from all of that experience, but I will consult later for that. So it was not a walk in the park for sure, but I think having good, strong tools in a hard situation is very important. And now I have more tools from this experience to apply, hopefully never again, but the tools are there. And it does, I mean, for everyone who has had a child at the NICU, you walk out of there a completely different person. There's just no, you're just not the same. I remember telling Dave after a month that Zoe was at the NICU, we looked at each other and we were like, we're not the same people. It's like pretty crazy how I think the the depth of the intensity of an event that you go in definitely correlate to the depth of adaptation that you need to bring. And we're still going through it, but yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, I think when you're in those situations and it's such a traumatizing experience, it's so hard to focus on just taking one step. But I think that's like that thing is like just being able to take one step is like the biggest thing. And like you say, it's so tough at that time. But then when looking back, you realize how many you'd taken. It seemed, like you say, explaining it seems so simple because all you're saying is just keep moving. But when you're there, it's so difficult. Like it really is so hard.
Yeah, it keep moving when you just can't. Like that's the thing is every step you have to take, you're so sleep deprived. You're like cortisol is up to the roof. You like don't eat, don't sleep. You're really trying to survive yourself, and on top of it, like you have all those emotions going on, but both me and my husband also have like our business, and like we had like really hard things happening with our business with COVID, really brought the worst out of people. So we had to deal with a lot of horrific stuff on that side at the same time. And it was like, when it rained, it pours, but I felt like this was a whole tsunami. So it's not just a little bit of pouring rain. It was like a whole tsunami, and on top of it, you have to grow so fast as a married couple because the way Dave reacts to things is completely different to mine. Dave is like is kind of an at delay response person. And for me, it's like if something happened now, I try to find solution now. So like the day Zoe was born, it was like a flip switch in my brain. And it was like, boom, boom, boom. I'm a mom. I'm going to do, everything for my daughter. Literally, I will let myself die if I have to, but she will survive. And for him, it took him like a week or two to process what was happening and try to be a little bit more analytic about it. But the way we reacted to that was like making us really clash with each other, because I think he was still trying to learn what it meant to have this paternal instinct, and that you can't just like go train whenever you want anymore, and you can't just do all this other things. And for me, it happened right away. So it was really hard at first. Like it's not just the baby's there, it's really hard, but it was also how can we maneuver this very intense situation and try to meet each other halfway and understand where we're coming from and how we're dealing with that. And no outside help whatsoever. So that side was also like a lot, just a lot of fire everywhere. And uh, you have a kid, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, as you know, when you have a newborn at home, it's already like everyone is on that little edge, and sleep deprivation, and there's no more, I think, before the baby, I think there's a lot more of just letting the other like get away with things. And it's like now that this new person is here and you're in a high stress situation, like that is gone. So you just like start calling each other out. It's like you just mirror each other all the time. And then if you're not aware that you're doing that, because you're not mad at the other person for doing something, I think you see them do something that you also do that you don't like, and you're like, oh no, you did that. And you're like, wait a second, I hate myself when I do that. And it's like there's just so much to learn so fast. So that was a lot also.
Yeah, so something a lot of couples don't think of. Well, not that they don't think of, but just not prepared for is a newborn baby. Like it really is. It is wild. Yeah, it is wild.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking of perspective, so you've one thing you have got perspective on that I feel like you're probably on the other side of is high school. So you said you suffered really really badly in high school with bullying. Having perspective now, what's your advice to people who are going through that at the moment?
Yeah, high school was really hard. Just give a little glimpse into that. Um, I was bullied to the point that I wanted to disappear, like literally disappear. I started to lose a lot of weight, and to the point that I knew some days were harder than others. So for some reason, Thursday was always the day that I was bullied the most. Wednesday was not bad, and Friday was not bad, most likely because the weekend was around the corner. But every day it was like there was just a pattern, and that's like how much I guess it was happening that you end up noticing a pattern in the whole thing. And having like um it's hard to be bullied when you don't know why. And I don't think there's a lot of when you're a kid, it's hard to understand why, because not everyone is raised the same way. So I think you make up in your head that everyone is raised by like loving parents, like I had, and that the main value in my family was kindness and hard work, yeah, and that you're part of the team. So in my family, that's what my parents taught us by doing it themselves, by working so hard to provide for us, and always being kind, never whining, showing up for each other. And every chores at the house, it was a team effort, and we didn't get paid for it. Like it was just part of what you do in a household. So I think it's hard when you're younger to understand why other people like hate you for a reason that you don't get. Um, and back then it was devastating because I'm so hard on myself. And it was hard to understand why I was getting picked on when you're kind and you're never doing it back. And it's like it's just hard to understand that um, some people just want to hate you and there's no reason behind it. And when you're a teenager and you all you want is be loved and being approved when you're a teenager, and that's not happening. And I think what's really hard in high school, the way I wish like girl would bully the same way guy bully, where we would just have ended up in a fist fight and it would have been over. But the way girl bully is that they try to cut your whole social circle from you, so you feel alone. And that's where it's very, very dangerous. And that's kind of what happened for me. But thanks God, I have a twin sister. And that was like, we would always tell each other, because she also got bullied a little, not as much, but she also got bullied. And we would always tell each other, if we don't break our bond, they can't like go too hard on us. And at least we know we have someone. So I was lucky, I guess, to have that and to have really good parents that would tell me to just ignore them and just think about them like ghosts, and that everyone gets what they deserve at the end of the day. And I mean, still don't understand what I did for that, but I think what happened when they cut you from like that social circle is you end up in a situation that you can't trust anyone. Because literally, if I remember I tried to talk to some girls about it, and I was like, I just don't understand why this specific person is doing this to me. And what ended up happening is that they took my word, twisted them against me, and then started a whole new thing. So the next month was way worse. And that's really hard, because then I lost trust in everyone. And the one thing I should and I wish I had done was to go seek for help, for maybe like some adult that like would have been there to listen to me and understand and just help. But I didn't felt like I had that where I was, because I remember also, now I remember I did go talk to, we were in a volleyball team, and her coach wasn't there on one of the practice, and it ended up being this weird thing that happened where all the volleyball team girls started to gang up against me and my twin, and it was really weird and bad. So we went to tell the coach the next day, and I remember the whole situation was turned against, like somehow me and my twin were the one that caused the trouble, and she asked us to apologize to them, which my twin said, I will not, and I will not fake that I like them. But it was just hard, because you feel alone and you feel like you can't trust anyone, and you need someone to listen to you and understand you. So I think my advice for them would be, just go talk to one more person. Like, I guess I chose the wrong person to talk to. So try someone else. There is people out there like willing to listen to you. Talk to your uncle or anyone. Grandparents are great for that, okay? All they have to do is give love. So grandparents normally are really good for that. But definitely talk about it, and talk about it a lot, because if it's out of you, it's not eating you alive inside. So that would be my advice. And, you know, on the flip side, if you're someone who is bullying, I'm sure that you're going through something hard. Like, there has to be a reason why you're doing this. So this might be, I mean, if you're ever listening to this podcast, like why don't you assess that and find a way to love yourself instead of trying to pushing your hate on someone else? Because it's, you know, I think it's sad to say, but you don't want someone to commit suicide because of you, and you don't know, but then you have to live with that, even though now you don't know the effect you might be having on that person. It can be this long-lasting thing that you're part of, which is horrible. I would not wish that on anyone, but there's perspective to have on each side.
So that's high school. So did the bullying didn't continue? Yeah, big one. It didn't continue into college, did it? It did the bullying. No.
No, which is funny, because I mean, so another. This is just funny, but I have a brother that's 2 years older than me, and and he was the captain of the hockey team of my city, and he was like, you know, one of the best hockey player. And I'm from Canada, so it's a big deal in Canada. And so something funny in high school that I wish I knew, my brother told everyone at the school that no one was allowed to flirt with me and my twin. So until I was 18, so no one asked me for prom. And I went with this guy. He's a very kind guy, but it was not the right choice. But he was the only one who asked. And he's a very kind guy. But I felt bad because I think I may have broke his heart, because there was no way I wanted to date him, who just wanted to have someone to go to prom with, and it was really nice, so it was okay. But so until I went to college, I thought that guys just couldn't care less about me and my twin, which is funny, but I guess when we went to college, that rule didn't apply anymore. And then there was a lot of weird situation with like some of my brother's friends being like, what's happening between us? Like, wait, what? Nothing. So yeah, so that didn't help in high school. But yeah, no, in college it was like a bunch of cities, mashed up together. And I think as you go in a bigger pool of people, you start to find a lot of people that are more in line with the way you are or how much you work. And I think there's just a bigger variety of people. So you find others that are more likely that have been through a similar thing as you, have same passion, and are just, raised maybe more similarly, or you find things in them that are attractive that you couldn't necessarily find in other people then. And also people are older. So I think a lot of them hopefully have grown and realized that there's more to life than being the top dog in high school.
So college as well is a really busy time for you. You're in full hustle mode at this point. What was the average day like at college?
Yeah, college was crazy. So I found, so I found like, I guess CrossFit my first year of college. And I just loved it because it was a nice way. And it wasn't, I guess it wasn't like CrossFit that I found, but I found like fitness in general, because I've always played sport all my life, but it was the first time I found like really fitness, that like you can be strong and you can try to run fast, and it's not all about like running really long and doing abs so you just look a certain way. But it was very empowering to feel like I could like run a mile sub 6 minutes, or squat over 2 times my weight and things like that. Not my first year, let's be honest. I was like after 9 years. um, but I could, like I said earlier, my family put all their money into us being able to play sport, and every sacrifice my parents made was always to help us. But we are not from I'm not from a family that like had a tons of money. Like my dad used to get very sick often, and we didn't know why. And older, I learned that he was so stressed to not be able to provide for us to have food on the table, that he would have like ulcer in his stomach. So it was like making him sick. And there's like a lot of things like that when I was younger you don't know, because they were great parents, so they never let us know that. But older, you kind of, looking back, I like look at the things we used to eat, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it now. So when I went to college, I felt like I wanted to do this on my own, and they gave me so much that I was like, I'm a smart cookie, I'm gonna figure this thing out. But I was completely broke. Broke was yes, like I was stealing peanut butter from my roommate. I was in a shitty dorm. I had no phone, no TV, no computer. So that was um, a blessing in disguise because I had to learn to be very resilient very fast, and there was no room for failure. Like, because I couldn't pay to redo a class. Like, I just couldn't do that. And I was very scared I wasn't going to be good enough because everyone tells you engineering is really hard. So the fear of that and the fear of not having the means to like redo a class and things like that, sometimes when you're put against the wall is a good thing. And also I just learned about this CrossFit game things, which was very exciting. um, so I kind of used back then my training to give myself a break from my school, and my school to give myself a break from training. And it was literally no time wasted. I had school from 8 a.m. to around 6 or 8 p.m., depending on the day, with 1 hour break for lunch. And I would wake up at 6 a.m. I would run to this little Globo gym at school, try to do some training. Then I would be in school all day. I would sleep on they had this couch at the school somewhere, like a lounging area. I would sleep there for an hour, like with everyone there. I just couldn't care less. I would sleep on the couch, like eat during my class, and then go train again at night. And then I would come back and study until 10 p.m. and I would repeat. And a little funny fact about back then, there was no like competition program in 2010. It was like there was this like workout of the day on the website, and I couldn't do most of it because I was in the Globo gym. So there's no rings, no pull-up bar, there's no anything. So I had to makeshift my equipment when I was there. So I would just stack on things to make a box jump, and I would jump on the that lat pull down machine. There's like it's like a square at the top.
Yeah.
I would jump on that to do my pull up, and I would just make it happen, right? And then I would have. So I started like very early on to create my own programming, and I would just look at the things that I think I'm struggling at, and then I would just find progression. So I remember back then I was struggling with thrusters, and I'm very good at them, but I started to make myself progression. So I started to do what we call a drop set. So I would go like heavy, and when I couldn't do the heavy anymore, I would drop load and go lighter and go lighter. And I had no idea back then of all the physiology behind that type of training, but I created this thing for myself where I was very data oriented, and I would just always take data on whatever I was trying, what was working, what wasn't. And I learned just a ton about like programming and finding ways to make myself better like that. So just, a side note on that side, I kind of fell in love with this whole programming and fitness world by doing that, by like using myself as this little lab, because in 2010 there was no information out there. So it was like, trying to get better at something that you don't have the equipment for, and or like the coach or anything. So yeah, that's what I was doing. So everyone who think it was easy, it was not.
So how do you pack in being a student chemical engineer, going for the CrossFit Games? You're not doing very well financially. How did you pack all of that in? Like, is there any tips for people?
Be okay stealing the peanut butter from your roommate. I think it's a really hard question to answer, because I do feel like part of that struggle um, really taught me to be very, very resilient and and to be very creative and inventive. And it forced me to grow in ways that I doubt I would have grown in as strongly if I asked for help. Because it was this kind of thing where like my back was on the wall like very, very often. Um, and it's, you know, when you feel like you have nothing and out of your nothing, you still have everything to lose if you don't show up. It helps you show up. So yeah, it taught me a lot of discipline, a lot of not caring what other people thought of what I was doing, because I remember my teacher would often I had a couple of teachers tell me that they thought I was so disrespectful for showing up in my gym clothes all the time. But for me, it was like I literally just ran from the gym to not miss the class because that's all the time I have. And then, you know, they would reprimand me for eating in their class, and they would reprimand me for, you know, doing a lot of things until the day I won. And then it's funny how people change after that. Um, but yeah, it was like there was no other choice because I'm just made up this dream in my head that I was gonna go to the CrossFit game, and it was so exciting. And I didn't want anyone to make me stop of dreaming or make me feel bad for dreaming. And I don't know if that's what having a hard high school did for me, like understanding that I'm gonna do me, because no matter what you try to do for other people to, you know, hopefully give you what you want and just have someone be like, yeah, you're nice, maybe I'll stop bullying you. I just like was doing me for me, and this is what I wanted to do, and this is what I was going to do, and I'm not hurting anyone. And I'm sorry if your standard is to show up in class and you know, very, very well dressed, because that's what, you know, a lot of engineers, they just dress well for work. Well, I guess I'm not your typical girl, but I'm also here to break the mold of what we should or shouldn't be, because you can do it all and be it all. And dressing up a certain way doesn't mean that you have to be that person. So yeah, so I just decided to be me.
So high school was tough because of other people, but college was tough because of yourself, what you put yourself through. What yeah, what is the power in tough situations, like finding tough situations?
A tough situation has this power: either force you to grow or see if you're going to quit. And I think that's always what a tough situation is. It's like this little mountain or this little, you know, if you're someone who play games, it's a level. So you're just at the end of your level where you're gonna have to fight the monster. And you know, this monster is very often yourself, and it's looking at yourself in a mirror, and you just got exposed. And the question is like, what is the lesson that this situation is trying to teach me? And am I willing to you know, see it and see myself for who I am, or am I going to put the blinders and stay here? And if I stay here, that's it, you don't get to level up. So now you're starting to become this person that is going to stay here forever. And for me, like, that's terrifying. It terrifies me to not grow, to stay here. So that's kind of how I see tough situations. And yeah, sometimes I really ask myself how I did it. But also, I was just at the NICU for 3 months, and you know, it's okay, and it's okay to understand that it is a tough situation. It's okay to know that it's hard, but also you have to remember that you can do hard things, and it's just hard. Hard thing is just hard. We do them all the time. We always make hard decisions. We have heartbreaks. We break hearts. There's just a lot of hard that happen. So I think where we can get a lot out of a tough situation is trying to learn from that situation. And sometimes learning from that situation is also not just you, but it's learning how, other people feel, how other people, have grown their past, and then learn to have more compassion and understand every situation. That's what a tough situation is. I think that's what being tough is too, is always going into things with a clear mind, an open heart, and just be very vulnerable in learning and just growing.
We've spoken about childbirth. We've spoken about being a mom, and now we're speaking about being tough. And I think a misconception is that women aren't strong or women are weak. And for me, as I said this before, my mom and my partner are the two strongest people I know. How important is it for women to know that they have that strength?
Yeah, I think and this is something I really try to do a lot with my daughter now. And I think it just goes down to how you're being talked to when you're a kid. Like, I know, I'll FaceTime people with Zoe, and it's the first thing they say, it's, oh, she's such a pretty girl, oh, my beautiful little girl, oh, she's going to be so sweet, she's going to be so pretty. And I'm like, no, she's going to be curious, she's going to be adventurous, she's going to be funny, she's going to go kick butt. And that's what I always tell her. But the opposite, when people talk to a little boy, it's like, oh, tough little boy, you're going to be strong like your dad, you're going to do all those physical things. And I think this is something that we need to try to change from the source, because I want my daughter to grow up not knowing the difference between what is expected out of a girl or out of a boy. And so I'm always telling her how funny she is. And how curious she is, and she's going to travel the world, and she's going to experience things. And that's really what I want for her, is to have that, because I think maybe that's where I was always a mismatched younger, because that's how my parents tried to raise me. I remember I had people coming to us in school and would be, your dad raised you like a guy. They would tell me that a lot. And back then, it felt like a jab, but now I'm like, hell yeah. But I don't want people to even have to say that. And they would say that because he taught me that, playing the mud is fine, and just dressing up however was fine, and you just had to do you. And I just wish that for my daughter, because like you said, especially now that I have a daughter, man, women's are tough. It's unbelievable. I am so inspired by all the mom in the world. Extra props for my mom, who had 2 kids and then had twins while my dad was full-time working. I have no idea how she did it. Props to your mom, who raised you by herself, and I'm sure was working. It blows my mind. I guess I understand, because I'm doing it in a different way by running 2 business and having my baby and so many other things, but it's the most selfless job ever, and the least recognized ever. And they just do it, and they try to do their best, and they don't sleep at night. I know, because I don't. And you don't sleep at night ever. And when you're holding your daughter or your son, or whatever you gave birth to, you still try to be present so she can feel the love, and you're just dead. I know sometimes I hold Zoe, and I'm, trying to do all the tools that they teach you to help with their development, and I'm just dead inside, and I'm like literally falling asleep holding her, but I know that this is important for her. And there's so much sacrifice like this that I never thought I could do. And I've done like really hard things, and now I realize that, my schedule for, school and all that, I mean, it's a walk in the park compared to this, because at least in school you feel like you're moving forward, you feel like you're getting, it's still like very selfish, where like you're doing all of that for yourself and to try to give yourself a future. And this is completely putting your whole self on hold to try to give the best to this little bundle of awesome, that is kind of sometimes makes you feel like you're in an abusive relationship where all you get is getting yelled at. And it's like when you're about to break, she like smiles at you and you're like, oh, it's fine. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it is the most important job as well in the world. Like it, quite literally. Yeah, it is. CrossFit Games. I remember you said you did the CrossFit Games. It gave you a really unique perspective. It changed your mind. I think after the CrossFit Games, when you said you first went there, you came back with a different thought. I don't think many people will have. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah. I mean, I'll always remember, because it was it was a catalyst to my growth, um, especially having a hard experience in high school. And I really hope that all those people, I'm sure they've grown and they went through whatever they had to go through, and they're good people now. I'm sure they were never bad people. I think they maybe have bad thing that was happening that we didn't knew about. So no, they're good. I'm good with them. Just know. Um, but I think, yeah, the first time I went to the CrossFit game, it was so big. And it's funny because it was like 300 person watching it. The stand were like empty with a couple of people. It was so big for me. And it was just a glimpse of hope that I could be more and I could have more than, I guess, where I grew up, because I'm from a small town. And it just gave me what I needed to believe in myself, to propel myself to something that I've never been around. Um, because I think it's hard to, I mean, it's hard enough to do what I've done, but I think it's really hard when you don't know anyone who has done something similar, or like has been, super high level in anything, except my parents were high level in being parents. The sad thing is that doesn't come with a manual, but I learned most of my lesson from them. And I mean, a lot of what I was doing wasn't relatable to anyone. So I'm trying to, I would read a lot of book about mental toughness, and I would read a lot and be very proactive about like my own self development. But it's really hard to, I guess, like propel yourself to that next step when like you really don't know what it takes. And again, I think that was a blessing in disguise, because I was so scared. And this is what really happened after my first time going. I came back home. A lot of people told me that I just got lucky, and that this was never going to happen again. And when the good people were going to find this, I was going to be out. And thanks for the pep talk, people. And then you had other people that were really proud and excited for me. But I mean, sadly, we tend to remember the one that tell you something bad more than all the nice thing other people are saying. So I was so scared to not go back, that I just triple down on work and triple down on, being even more focused, and, really look into my, my nutrition became a lot more important. So I would go back home, and instead of stealing from my roommate, I would steal the food from my parents and just meal prep in the weekend and bring it back and try to, I would just study video on YouTube on how to weight lift, on how to squat. And I think something that was really neat about being so curious is that I was very open-minded to learn from everyone, and I just wanted to learn from the best, which I think that sometimes it's something that it has been missing in the CrossFit methodology, is that the doesn't seem like they allow like the best of the best in other area to come teach for them, like powerlifting and track and field and all of that, and they just take like sometimes just the best CrossFitter at teaching it to teach you, but you want the best of the best. So that's kind of what I started to do, and not knowing how hard it is to do this, I think was a good thing for me, because I was always scared to not be doing enough and not doing it good enough, because everyone tells you it's hard. And it's like, now you set your standard of hard, right? So you, like, everyone has their own standard of hard, because we all come from different backgrounds. So I had my background of what I knew hard could be. So I'm like, all right, they say it's hard. Well, that was hard. So I have to do more than this. So then you start doing more than that, and that becomes the new level of hard. So, all right, they say it's hard, so I have to go above that hard. And that's kind of what was happening to me. It was like this slow evolution of like, keep pushing into not only like going harder, but like being smarter about it. Like, oh, you know, I've done X, Y, and Z. I was moving poorly. My back hurt. Okay, so pushing harder with poor movement is bad. So let's, you know, come back, study those movements more, really understand the mechanic behind it, and then apply it in a much better way. And that's kind of what I was doing with it, because I'm very, I mean, and analytical with the, I guess, an engineering background. Like for me, fitness became a puzzle, and I had to, you know, understand that puzzle. And the same thing went with nutrition. And that's kind of how I think over the past 11 years at this point, I really built my knowledge with fitness, health, and nutrition that now I apply everywhere else and with other people. But yeah, that was the game. Huh?
What did it take? What did it take from going from the first games to winning it? What did that take to take that huge step?
So I knew it was there since my first CrossFit game. I could feel it. I could feel it. I would sit outside, and I don't know if I created it. I think I created it, that feeling. I don't know if have ever sit outside and you look into the sky and it's just infinite and your heart feels so light. And that's what I think believing is. And I would just often sit outside with my breathing and recreate that feeling over and over and over again. And like I said, I don't know if I created it or if I just knew it was there. I decided it was gonna happen, I guess. and that's something I would do a lot. And I knew it was there. I thought I had a really good shot in 2013. And I think because I was young, I came in a little cocky about some aspect of it, where like I thought that because I worked, like, this is sad, but I thought because I worked so hard, I just kind of had to show up. And that is a big misconception. And 2013 was really hard for me because I still like was in a situation where I didn't have much, and I felt like I put everything in it, which I did, and it didn't happen. And not only didn't happen, I really failed in some of the tests that were thrown at us. And it was a catalyst for me for the next year. Like this thing that back then felt like the worst thing in the world, which now I know is really not. It really like propelled me in the next year in just never underestimating other people and never overestimating myself and to really put everything every day in it. And like when you ask what it takes everything. It just takes everything. Um, there's no going out. You let people down around you all the time. Like I remember my family just wanted a night out to the movie. I could not do that. And they would get mad at me and they would feel like I put them on the side, and I did. And it was just, you try to make them understand that, like for me, it was like, I'm going to put everything in and I have no regret about it. And it's also putting that, I think most people try to sabotage themselves because then you can go and be, oh, well, I ate, cake every week. So it's, that's why, there was something. So I put everything in so there wouldn't be any excuse down there to not be my best. And then I would really know where I stand. But yeah, it's like 6 a.m. every day. And I remember I even, because I was still in school and there was no facility where I had access to like pull-up bars and rings and things like that there. So I would come back on the weekend to sleep at my parents' house because there was a facility there. And on Sunday, I would sleep in the gym and I would wake up at 4 a.m. to do my workout so I could have access to the equipment. And then I would drive to school to start my class at 8 every Sunday. And I know it's insane. I would never do it again. And I remember, so my twin sister was the owner of the gym, and she would walk in the morning and I would be training without any music, just like silence at 4 a.m. I would and I would do this thing where I would sleep in my training gear. So I would have no excuse. So it wouldn't even cross my mind that getting dressed would be like, ugh, I have to get dressed. I have to get going and I'm already dressed. It's so crazy. But it really takes everything. But on the flip side, it's worth it. 1 year is not that bad. I think you're oh my God, it takes, obviously it built over a lot of years ahead of time, but then it was I'm going to do this for 1 year and see if it's worth it. And then, I achieved the goal, which was pretty awesome. Yeah.
What's your advice to the aspiring CrossFitter out there whose goal is to do that?
Yeah, do for Rose. Save your knees. That would be for all the other people that don't aspire to try to be the best in the world. Do for Rose, save your knees, save your back, and for life. But I would say for the, I guess the other people, make sure that you want this for the right reason. I think a lot of people, see the top athlete and it looks like they have all those sponsors and they live this type of life, and you just have no idea. You have no idea what we do. And, as an example, every year we go to the Bahamas with a certain sponsor, and all the athletes sponsored by them go there. And, to people, it seems like we're just, in the Bahamas, drinking, but it doesn't look like that. Even when we're doing those trips, everyone is training at 6 a.m. And if we're not in meeting with the company, we're all training. And yes, it's nice and pretty where we are, but we might relax for 20 minutes at night. And that's like all the athletes that are there. So I would say like, make sure you're doing this for the right reason, and not for like, you know, fame or whatever. Like it should be something like much deeper, and you should have a lot of fun doing it. Just like my mom used to ask me, you have fun? And if you don't, like, you don't have to do this. Like this, I mean, being a professional athlete is also can be very selfish. And that's part of kind of what I had enough at the end of. Like, I want to build a family. I want to be at service of other people. I want to help. I want to help other people. And like, I felt like when I hit 25 years old, the wanting to, you know, win and do like kind of this me thing really started to fade down. I started to have much more of a void in me, and it was like the me really transformed to we, and I just really wanted to help other people a lot more than I wanted to just have someone tell me I was good at pull-up, which is silly. You know, with perspective, like being a professional exerciser is a little bit funny. But I want to be someone who helps other people, and that's really why I started my home, you know, a brand with Feroz, so I could help people that, you know, go to the global gym, like have good information, a good coach online, and help them achieve their goal and be happier, because I think happier, healthier, fitter people are just better for our world overall. And me winning a medal, I don't know if it does as much good.
I really do think that what we spoke about today will help a lot of people. Where can people find you and follow you and get more information off you?
Yeah, so Camille Leblanc is my Instagram. I have a YouTube channel that we're working on it. You know, not really good at it yet, but we're working on it. I think it's my name, Camille Leblanc-Bazinet. I have a Facebook page, also my name, and ferozfitness.com is my business. And we have Feroz Fitness too on Instagram, where we put a bunch of workout all the time if you want to check that out. And what else? Am I missing something? What? My husband is trying to have me plug his business on.
That's fine. That's cool.
It's fine. All right. If you want to be a meathead, Jack bro, that's my husband. That's Thunder Bro.
Wicked stuff. We'll link everything below as well. We'll put everything down below, because I do genuinely like the stuff you put onto. I've seen the stuff you put onto YouTube. It's actually really useful stuff and really useful content. Yeah. So like, I hope that goes successful for you and goes really well.
We're getting better at marketing. Yes, it's just.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll link it all below. Thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I know it must be hard with a newborn, finding the time as well. So really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for this, and thanks for doing this again.
Cool. Right. Okay. Wicked. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.